Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 10 of the Paigncast. This is a podcast where we shine a light on the people that brighten up our city. First things first, I want to say this. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, shared the podcast. It has been a lot of fun up to this point. We've had some really fun conversations, had some cool people on, and excited about keeping it going. So thank you to all of you. Continue to like, share, all of that good stuff. Second, would love to insure you. Again, I don't do enough pitches on this show, but again, I would love to be your insurance guy. I've had people before be like, hey man, I was just waiting on you to ask. And I'm like, I've been doing insurance for 6 years. So consider this your formal ask. I want to do it. T-shirts are still available for any of you guys that would like to buy them. We actually have a sponsor for this episode that I want to tell you guys about because I think it's great. It's Seek and Find Ministries in Rantoul. This is a nonprofit organization, and they do some really great stuff in our communities up there. They provide things like clothing, household necessities, shoes at a super affordable price, and there's also some really great volunteer opportunities. All the proceeds of this program fund their programs. So one thing that I like that they really do that's kind of insurance related is if someone has a house fire, they will allow that family to come in there and shop while they kind of wait on the insurance check just to get some of the everyday necessities that people may need. So again, check them out. Go shop at their store. They have a website as well. It is seekandfindthriftstore.org. Again, that is seekandfindthriftstore.org. Give them a follow on Facebook. Check them out. They're doing some really good stuff for the people that live in our communities. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce our guest today. He is the owner of Midwest Barber Company here in Champaign. He's keeping a lot of the fellas and ladies in our communities looking nice. Put your hands together for Mr. Matt Daugherty. Matt, thank you for coming on and doing this, brother.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Hey, real quick, before we get going here, plug, promote all your socials. Where can people find you? Where can people find the business?
I mean, I don't really care about my personal stuff because I barely check it. But as far as the business goes, everything is at Midwest Barber Co. On Instagram. We have a Facebook, obviously. It's where you can find pictures of our work, silly stuff we write. Anything we do is on there. Facebook is, mostly where people find us, I think.
People booking at the website, though.
You can book. Yeah, there's links to all that stuff from our Instagram and our Facebook and on our website, MidwestBarberCo.com.
Okay, sick. Yep. Nice. Awesome. Well, listen, I want to jump straight into it here. I want to know about the Matt Daugherty background. Tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Decatur, actually.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm an implant to Champaign.
Okay, gotcha. How did you end up kind of over here then? Was it the job?
No, actually it was... I spent a lot of time over here, like in my 20s, hanging out and partying with people, getting up to no good. Played a lot of like music. I've been in bands and stuff most of my life.
Yeah.
And so I met a lot of friends and stuff over here. I started getting tattooed here, which I'm sure that'll come up at some point, how I'm connected to that. When I started dating who is now my wife, she was living in Chicago at the time.
Okay.
She had gone to U of I at one point. And we'd been dating long distance and didn't like it anymore. And she wanted to be closer to home, which is also Decatur for her. And but neither of us really wanted to live in Decatur anymore. Nothing against the Decatur peeps. I love a lot of people over there. It's a cool city. But we settled on Champaign because we'd both spent a whole lot of time here and liked the community, liked what the town has to offer. Yeah. A lot of it's gone away at this point. But unfortunately, that happens. But yeah, so we just decided on Champaign, and I wasn't even doing what I do now yet. I was still just crumb bumming in my mid-20s at that point. So
okay, gotcha. So you grew up in Decatur, all the way through like grade school, middle school, high school.
I was in Decatur, Mount Zion.
Okay.
I hate saying that, but for most of my life until like maybe about. Well, a little after this time, about 20 years ago, because I remember it was right after 9/11. My dad worked at Firestone in Decatur. That plant got closed for a huge scandal thing that happened between them and Ford.
Okay.
And we had to uproot and go to Tennessee for a couple of years. So I lived in Murfreesboro, which is like kind of a burb of Nashville.
Okay.
Sounds crazy, but I hated it because I was a kid and I didn't know anybody. Yeah. And
was moving
did
that suck bad?
It was at the time. I don't want to use this word like lightly, but it was traumatic. Yeah. It was very, I just turned 16.
Okay.
And so I was about to get my license.
Whole life has been indicated.
Yeah. And you're ready to go down the streets. You're going to be the one driving. You're going to be taking your friends. The band thing that I mentioned, that was all just starting. All the friends we were kind of getting serious with it at that point, And then it was like, knock knock, like fate was at the door. And it was like, you don't get to do that. You have to go here and go on this weird vision quest, basically, into the wilderness of southern United States, you know, which looking back was one of the most developmental times of my life. I was probably pretty immature for my age. I'm still cynical and sarcastic all the time, but I was like the mouth back then. And I think getting pulled away from my friends at that point and kind of put where, hey, you know who your friends are? Your parents.
Yeah.
That kind of made me grow up. And it was like, you start seeing your parents as friends instead of just the leadership and the man in your life, you know? And so like I spent 2 years there, and then that's kind of where I would have been 18 by then. We moved back to, we just missed our friends and family, and Dad was done with the job there. So we came back to Mount Zion from there, and then I was in Decatur for until we moved here in 2014 or whatever.
Social media thing in or whenever you were 16, you know, whatever it would have been. I mean, were you communicating?
No, dude, the internet was barely a thing. You know what I mean? Like if you got on the internet, you were going to a website, and if you were communicating with people, it would have been like on a message board or a forum. Yeah.
So you were keeping contact.
So, and AIM, you know, you would have like instant messenger for anyone out there that doesn't know what that is. Yeah. So I would keep in contact with neighborhood friends and school friends and stuff like that with that. But I mean, when you're physically apart from them, I mean, it's almost painful, you know, to talk to them. So yeah, that was a very big growing period for me.
What was high school like for you in both places?
Okay, so this is really weird. So this is a topic I've probably even talked to Veronica about this before, because we're good friends. But I grew up going to a private school. I think a lot of people hear the words private school and they imagine it's like a high school that you go to, but also Jesus or Catholicism, Christianity, whatever it might be. Mine was way different than that. It operated more like a homeschool almost, where it was like a one-room schoolhouse. We all had cubicles, and you might be 15 years old, but like 2 cubicles down from you is like a second grader.
How many kids were there?
Well, a total. I mean, I was there from the iteration of this school to the time that I graduated. So I'll get there because that's weird too, right?
Sure. Yes. Okay.
So it started off with like 10 of us or something. I'll just use a rough number. I think by the time I graduated, there was maybe I'll say 50 to 60. Very small. And when I say 50 to 60, I don't mean high schoolers. I mean like first grade through high school, right?
Real small.
Yeah. And like you didn't have a teacher, you had a curriculum that taught you, and then you had supervisors, right? That would answer questions you had. You'd grade your own work. You'd correct the problems. AKA it was really easy to cheat.
Sure.
It was one of those schools that was kind of a magnet for problematic kids that maybe had issues at public schools, and they'd been maybe given the boot to a lot of others. Yeah. So there was a lot of strange people that you were surrounded with. Yeah. But so since you asked about since it operated that way, my mom was also one of these supervisors that was at this school. So I don't know if this was legal. I don't know if I actually have a high school diploma, but she was able to satellite basically through that school, and I had all my curriculum at home. So for my last 2 years, I was like home taught. Yeah. However, it was exact same curriculum I had used since first grade or whatever. So it wasn't even weird. Yeah. It was even easier to cheat because all the answer keys were in the hall closet, and I could just do whatever I needed. Sorry. But you know what I mean? So it was kind of this weird thing where I didn't care. I was down there. I was down there and miserable. Yeah. You know, and all I wanted to do was get through that work. So I'd do that, then I could, play guitar, Nintendo, watch horror movies. That's what I did all day. Right. You know, just blaze through this stuff. Late night, cheat real quick, get it all written down. Then when it was time to do schoolwork during the day, fill it out. Right. That was my life. So That's wild. And so I was able to graduate through that school. So we came back for the graduation ceremony, and my class of 5. Yeah. That's all. That's it. That was it.
So crazy.
Valedictorian.
Yeah. Nice, dude.
But now you know how. Yeah. Now you know how. So it's, I don't even know where that medal went, because it was never a point of pride, because I knew that it was an ill-gotten gain, if you will. But yeah.
Wow.
So that's wild. Pretty odd. Yeah. So like, I mean, that's part of what makes me me, is that kind of strange. Thank God for neighborhood friends to kind of ground me to another side of reality. And also thank God for that experience, because I think it was a huge lesson in empathy. And maybe it's why I'm good with the public. And anybody can be anybody, and I can probably relate to you in some way, because I grew up around the freaks and the geeks.
Yeah.
You know, like we all did, but
Yeah.
it just felt very microscopic
Right.
in my tiny little
Sure.
private school bubble.
Did you become closer with your folks down there in Tennessee, or was it more of like angst towards them where it was like, dude, I don't want to be here?
Dude, I could have gone that way, right? It didn't, though. It was like they felt that way too. They
Okay,
didn't want to be there. I mean, there was those like make or break moments where, so my brother, I have one brother, my brother Brad, and he was with us when he came down
Older
there.
or younger?
He's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
Also went through the same schooling.
Yeah.
We have the same, exact same upbringing. He's
Sure.
just 2 years older than me. Where was I going with that? We were all down there at one point. Then since he was 2 years older, he graduated first.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, I'm going to move back to Illinois. And he was living with my grandma at the time because she needed help anyway because she was old and had a lot of health issues and stuff. So he was able to move in with her.
Yeah.
He had a part-time job at the school that we had gone to because you could easily be one of those supervisors, especially if you went through that curriculum.
Sure.
It didn't seem like what,
Right.
it made a lot of sense. And he started community college over at Richland in Decatur. And now it's just me, mom, and dad.
Uh-huh.
So, but we were all miserable. And like I was saying, we had some of those make or break moments in those kind of trials and tribulations you have as a family where I can remember like sitting down to eat like Papa John's or some shit, and it's quiet and everyone's just sitting there staring at their plate. Like this literally happened like it would be in a movie. And
Right.
my dad, who you don't see cry in my family, not that he's like pride, but my dad's a tough mother, you know?
Yeah.
So he broke down and he's like, I'll never do this to you guys again.
Yeah.
Like whatever it takes to get us back, I'm going to get us back, And so it was we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Like it's not just you guys. It's
Right.
like they were miserable. We were miserable.
Yeah.
We came back up here. It's hilarious to think, I got to get back to Central Illinois.
Yeah.
There's so many people shit on,
Sure.
and like, but when it's home, it's home.
Exactly.
I mean,
Right.
that.
Yep.
So we took every chance we could to come back. So our family got stronger through
That's cool.
being alone.
Right.
It's like, that's all you got. We were Yankees to all those Southerners down there. It was still honky tonk Nashville.
Sure.
It wasn't that hip in 2002.
Right.
It's a cool city. Now
Oh, yeah.
I have family, my best friend /
It's fun
brother-in-law
to
lives
visit.
there. It's great to go down there. We love it. But back then, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't want to know anybody. It was just like cool guitar stores. That was my basic. Maybe I'll see someone famous.
Right.
That's all you hoped for.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, it was just like a very internal growing experience. And like a lot of the things that I still have like a lot of taste in and dreams and goals in mind.
Yeah.
They were formed in those years when I was on my own. I was like, what do I really want out of this?
Right.
The
Exactly.
cosmic this.
Yeah. Sure.
So there's still plenty of me was formed in those years.
Yeah.
Those 2 years or so that I spent down there.
Yeah, it's cool that you were able to kind of like take something good away from it, whether that be like the strength of like the family, like the dynamic,
Absolutely,
the vulnerability of getting to see your dad as an adult be like, I don't like what I've done here. I need to try and fix this. I mean, that's crazy.
It really is crazy. I think other people have that experience. I don't think that's too unique. Pardon me, but again, it was kind of like that private school thing. It was so concentrated under this tiny microscope of like this family unit happening in this really private setting. And it's like, I was having all these like maturity epiphanies and like what it's really all about.
Yeah.
Like what are we really doing here? What's the point of all this? Because it sounds like what I'm describing is my first bout with depression.
Sure.
If you had a pretty good life, you probably never felt anything like that, especially if you don't have any imbalances or anything. It was like, I felt like I was a pretty happy kid until then. And then I really faced the wall where you're like, it really felt like, ugh. And then someone crushed it. And you're like, what? Like, how is this possible? How would God do this to me? You know what I mean? It was a big moment of that kind of thing in your life. But then looking back now, literally we're 20 years separated from it. I'm like, that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I don't think we ever would have thought that. I mean, I can still say Tennessee and my mom's like, like immediately, but we all look back on these certain fond things and it's crazy. Yeah. It definitely strengthens us.
Isn't it funny how even the experiences that were negative, you can somehow, and I would say more often than not, like especially those periods of time where you're like, this sucks. Depending on who you were there with, you kind of look back at it and you're like, I can appreciate it. I don't know that I would do it over again.
Yeah,
but I can
for
appreciate that just brief little blip in time.
Yeah, just as much as you can
sucked.
say the opposite when some things you're like, that should have been cool.
Yeah.
But so and so was there.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah.
it's I mean those, and it's cool to find out as I've gotten older that all felt at the time very like me. Why me? Why is this happening to me and my family? Now you look back, you're like, this is so universal, man.
Yeah.
Like some of my friends that I met at like 11 years old were like, they were uprooted from California and their family had family here. So they moved over here. The first girl I dated for a long time, she was also from California.
Yeah.
And you know, like that one was kind of relatable because that was after we came back. So I kind of had this bond with, over that. But like, I've always had friends that also had that, but it was always like, oh, whatever, dude, let's go hang out.
Yeah.
You know, why are you so bummed out?
Sure.
And you don't understand it. And then it happens to you. And then you immediately go, why me?
Yeah.
Like, you idiot. Like, this is not why me. This is why life. This happens to everyone. But
yeah.
Huge trials and tribulations can like lead to massive leaps in maturity is what I learned.
It's also
and I'm still a big baby, but like,
sure,
I'm still 12 in my mind. But.
Same. It's also interesting too, because I bet that I never had to move whenever I was in school. I was in the same one straight up kindergarten through high school.
Right.
So I didn't have any issues, but it also makes you probably think like whenever you see people that are transplanted, I wonder how many people moved to small town Galatia where I was at and they were like, I hate all of this so much.
Yeah, dude,
I can't
absolutely.
believe my family brought us here.
Yeah, that's exactly what, like I said, with the friends that I met when I was like 11, they came from LA.
Yeah.
And then they moved to like Decatur, Mount Zion, Forsyth area.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is some hillbilly ass corncob town. And I'm like, no, it's not. Decatur's a city.
Yeah, like, come on, dude,
this is a
it's
city.
cool.
Like,
Yeah.
there's buildings, bro.
Yeah.
And then like you start seeing the world through their eyes at one point and you're like driving somewhere and you realize to get to where you're going, you're driving past a damn cornfield.
Right.
And you're like, oh, this
You're
is
like,
some Holcomb. Like,
yeah.
it really
Maybe
is.
they're
But like,
right.
and then you see that like maybe you get to go to a city like that and you're like, oh, wow, I really do come from a small town.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but you don't have that perspective if you've always been here.
Sure.
You know, like, but definitely. Yeah, for sure.
It's funny how you miss it. Like even like where I grew up, Saline County, it's an old coal mine town. I mean, it was one of those ones that like it really had a nice moment in time during like the coal mine boom, long time ago.
Where's that in relation to here?
So it's like 2.5 hours south of here, but it's
okay. That's what I thought. That's exactly what I
It's
thought.
like 40 minutes away from Kentucky, like south.
Is
Big coal mine boom.
Benton and stuff
Right
there?
down there? Yep.
Okay,
Right
I
in
have a
that
friend
same
from
area.
Benton. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So right down there, there's a lot of really, really good people down there, and there always will be. But it's an area that's like,
heartland people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah.
And at one point, it was bustling because of that whole industry.
Yeah.
And it's since then not, right? There's a lot less industry down there.
Right. And it's looked at differently these days.
Exactly.
Industry. Yeah. For right or wrong.
Exactly. It's different.
Yep.
But still, whenever I'm kind of pulling back in there, your heart fills up a little bit with where you're like, this was the spot where I had so many. I mean, you're just driving past stuff. You're like, I had fun there.
Absolutely.
My friend was passed out drunk right there on that sidewalk. It was really funny.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just dumb stuff like that.
We used to ride our bikes around this block 1,000 times a day.
We spent so much time on this porch right here that looks it's nothing to everyone else.
Absolutely.
But to me, it brings back so much. So I can understand moving to a different place and just being like, if I could just get back to Decatur, if I could just find a way back, it'd all be better.
Everyone I've met since I moved to Champaign, they're always like, "Oh, Decatur,
yeah,
at least it's not Danville and stuff like that." I'm like, these both have their merits. Let's chill out.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's someone out there in the world that's like, if I could just get back to Danville, my whole
absolutely,
life would come together. You know?
Man. Where everyone else could crap on that all day, it's like you got to learn that lesson where it's like, hey, like. Sometimes the things that you don't think are all chalked up to be what they are, they really are something kind of special. At least the people there make it something, like you were saying, like for sure. I don't want to live in Decatur, but I love to visit, see friends and family, and
it's part of you.
Absolutely.
So then tell me, how did you end up kind of getting into becoming a barber? How did that career kind of happen? Because you're back here then, right? You're in Central Illinois again.
Yeah.
So then how do we kind of get to where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, fast forward through the 20s was just like punk rock and beer, you know, like I was playing in, loud, noisy, hardcore bands and being a shithead.
What was your source of income then?
I worked. So when we moved back, the way that my parents got back from Tennessee was we bought a restaurant.
Okay.
A small, like, Chicago style restaurant called Triple Dog Daria. Mm-hmm. And we didn't make the name. It was already there for a year, so we couldn't change it.
Sure.
But it worked. It's catchy. People know it from A Christmas Story and stuff like that, so it was catchy. But it was like Chicago-style food. Like it was like a baby Portillo's.
Okay.
So all that kind of food, beefs, dogs, and all that.
Yeah.
Well, me and my brother had moved back, and like we'd gotten a house with the parents. Dad still had to finish out his like tenure before he could retire with Firestone, and we were running that restaurant for my dad, training under the old owner.
Yeah.
Then we took over. My dad did it. So then for about, I think I was there 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 8 years. So from the time I was about 18 to like 26, 27.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 27.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at that restaurant. That was my first real
Just a
job.
server?
Well, it was kind of like you did. It was a little place.
Okay.
It was like the kitchen was almost in the dining room. It was kind of one big
Gotcha.
open room. Sort of the way the old Farron's, when the one that was downstairs, kind of
It's
like that,
right
where,
there,
where it's all right there.
Yeah.
It wasn't that size. It was
Yep.
smaller. It was in an old house.
See the grill.
Yeah. You could
sure.
see us. You could shout out us through the kitchen. Everything.
Yep.
It was just one room. And so you would take an order, you'd wash your hands, you'd get on the line, and you'd do whatever, and then you'd run food out and then back into position. I ran it for my dad as just, a catch-all, doing whatever. Then when he sold it, because he actually went back to Firestone in Bloomington because they gave him an offer he couldn't refuse, basically. He had to get rid of something at some point between that job. He's a pastor, and also he was taking care of his ailing mother. And then he had this new Firestone gig again. It was like, something's got to give.
Yeah.
So the restaurant was the easy thing to ditch.
Yeah.
So he had gotten it in the green after like a year and a half or so of running it. It was booming. We were doing really well as a family and as a business at that point. And I stayed on for the new owner, who was our landlord or something, I think, of the business. And I ran it for him, and they ran things a lot differently. I'm sure there was a lot of complacency in my place. There was probably some bitter feelings because of the way they wanted to change things.
Right.
I'd hired a lot of my shithead and pothead friends at that point.
Yeah, like you do.
Yeah,
when
and
you
it was a
have the
blast.
opportunity. Sure.
It was a blast.
Yeah, I bet going to work was a lot of fun,
if we
dude.
ever run into each other or like have a meetup, it is like, dude, take me back.
Yeah.
If I could go there, like I've had better paying jobs. I've been treated better at jobs, but I would never take, that's the best job I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way. And I'm a successful business owner at this point. It was a blast. But I did that forever. I ran that for that guy. I think it lasted about 4 years under him. So 4 under my dad, 4 under that guy. And then he called me one day and was like, we're closing. I was like, oh, okay. Do I need to do anything to get it ready for he's like, no, we're closing.
It's done.
It's done. And he told me a couple months before, like, it's not looking great. But I'm like, okay, well, we'll turn this bitch around.
Sure.
And start taking it kind of serious. These 2 months will make up for 4 years of slacking. And sorry, Jim. And but it didn't. It just closed. But I think since he had told me, it's on the fritz.
Yeah.
We might close down. I think I'd already talked to my buddy who was like a shift manager at Starbucks in Decatur. What's the chances? Of me getting a job there? And he's like, I think I can get you a manager position. What I do, because you've
got some experience.
Experience,
right? Exactly.
Right? Like I just told you what it really was like I was a clubhouse that we also sold food. So I got that job.
Yeah.
I immediately had like an interview like 2 days later. I think Will probably put a bug in their ear and was like, hey, like he needs a job. He'll take this job immediately.
Yeah.
You don't
got
even
some
have
experience.
to. Yeah, he's good to go. So I got that job, and I met some of the coolest and nicest people that I think I'll be social media friends with. And if I see them in person, friends with for life.
Yeah.
But that was the absolute worst job
I've
ever had in my life. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I moved back to Tennessee over that.
Yeah.
It was bad,
really?
bro. Yeah.
Was it just like...
It was so much. I went from that free-for-all.
Yeah, you had structure now, right? And
corporate structure, buddy. I'd never done corporate because even under my dad, when it was a tight ship, it was still daddy's restaurant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you make that leap and not lose your mind, right? So...
and the middle management coming down on you.
Matt,
we're falling a little bit behind.
Yeah,
on
and as a shift supervisor at a place,
guys, I'm a manager here too.
That's what I mean. As a shift supervisor at a place like that, this is my perspective.
Yeah,
what I saw. Your middle management. Because there's the baristas, the peons, the pawns if we're playing chess, right? And then you have like the shift supervisors, you're in charge of them. You tell them when to be on what station, when to take their breaks and lunches. Like you take over for them. You just kind of run the show and you do some paperwork and you take the brunt of anything that goes bad because anybody that didn't do their thing.
Yeah.
Then you have your store manager that's also, Maggie was awesome, but she would like barking down your neck. Then you have the district manager. You know, it's
Right.
and the people you're really answering to are these like faceless,
Sure.
you know,
exactly.
ethereal entities. You have no idea who they are. You've
Right.
never met him. You've heard the name Howard.
Yeah.
You know, he has something to do with owning
exactly,
Starbucks. You don't know anything about it. And like that was weird to me. It was so weird because it went from being like, look, I know who I'm robbing when I screw this place up.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
to like you ain't robbing this place.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is like tight ship. And if you get it wrong, if he gets it wrong, it's on you. If she gets it wrong, it's on you. So I was like, oh my God, what? Paperwork? Who? No.
Yeah.
So 9 months there, and I was like, But at this point, I was a kid with like hair. So this is, let's set this up for barbering because I told you I'm too windy. I had hair like most of my life, like that little Bieber cut before it was a Bieber cut. You know, like everyone, we all had that like bell-shaped, shaggy, Ashton Kutcher, you know, like the early 90s, the 70s were kind of cool again, that late 90s.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
So everyone had flare leg jeans, boot cut. They probably still sell them, but anyway. I was the least person you would expect to go into the job that I'm at now because I always had long hair. And if I cut it, it was because we probably just played some sweaty basement show with a bunch of kids in it and a punk rock mosh pit crap. And then you're hot as hell. You're like, nope, it's July.
Right.
And I'd go home and just put like a 2-guard on and just rip it off. And I'd be all haggard. I'd try to line the back up and it would look like a heartbeat monitor. It's terrible. And I did that a few times. And one time did like a mohawk and stuff like that. And a couple times I had like buddies be like, oh, dude, will you give me a haircut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
But that was not the catalyst. It wasn't like, maybe this is a thing.
Right.
You know? So like I get to that point where I'm working at Starbucks in this coffee shop. I'm started getting cool haircuts. You know, Mad Men and Boardwalk Empire had entered the arena.
Yeah.
So people were seeing these kind of like slick dudes, basically. Classic barbering was hip again because of Don Draper. You know?
Sure.
And so everybody wanted a side part, a pompadour, things like that. And like all my long-haired punk rock friends were suddenly showing up to, they were all having kids and getting married.
Right.
So they were like, oh, I got to look like a dad.
Sure.
You know, and then we're growing up a little bit and I show up to a wedding or something for one of these that we're talking about. And my buddy who always had hair down past his shoulders suddenly looks like Don Draper.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, you look slick as hell, dude.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Because we weren't seeing these cuts yet. You know, I mean, I look like crap today, but like, this is what barbers look like for real when you're busy. But I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the heck is this? Like everybody that was like these cool, you know, punk rock for life kind of people, they're all looking like slick dads, but it still worked. Yeah. It's almost like slick hair's where punk rock goes to die.
It's true.
Yeah. The rockabilly, if you will.
Yeah,
which
dude.
I hate, but like it's a subculture I'll forever be related to because of barbering. But then I got to thinking, oh, I'm going to do that too. And so when I started getting these coffee jobs, I was getting a cool haircut and stuff. And I'd already kind of had the idea because I had a lot of hairdresser friends, different guys and girls that did hair, but they weren't barbers. That wasn't a thing 15 years ago. They were around. I don't ever want to disrespect like the guys that have been doing that before this barber boom happened. But started going to the shop Lockhart's over in Decatur that if anyone's from this area, you've probably at least heard the name for at least either the Barber College or the shops that Brandon Lockhart started. He was my barber at the time. And first time I got a cut from him, I was like, oh, I've actually kind of thought about doing this as a job. You know, my friends that are hairdressers told me, oh, you can talk to anybody and you got, you know, a personality. You should be a barber because anyone can learn to cut hair. And I even say like anyone can learn that. Now, whether you're going to get good at it or not, it's going to be up to you.
Sure.
So I did that and it was like, oh, the whole time working those coffee jobs, oh, I'm going to be a barber. I'm going to be a barber. But I had no ambition. I was scared. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't do the college thing. Never did that. That whole weird schooling thing and the way that I treated that schooling thing, I'll be fair, because I know plenty of other people have gone to college from that school. But it just didn't work for me. But I finally got to a point where I was like, oh, okay, like I think I can learn this, you know, like that's the thing I can learn. And who is now my wife at the time we were dating. And she was like, when I moved there to Champaign. Yeah. Because by this point we were dating and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. You were in Champaign. She was in Chicago? Is that how it was? Okay,
well, I know. I was in Decatur still.
Okay,
she was in Chicago.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to move down there so we can be closer together. I can be closer to my family.
Yeah.
But you got to start this thing that you've been saying you're going to do. You need to go. Just go talk to anyone. And at the time, the Lockhart's Barber College that I graduated from had not been started yet. I think it was a seed in his mind because I think he had like told me, you know, let's get started. We'll figure it out. I go to this other barber college that was not good. I was there. I stayed for 2 months, 3 months, maybe. Yeah. Like April to June or something, you know, like not very long. I did 2 haircuts the whole time I was there. They were both buzz cuts. Yeah. and I did half the book work.
Right.
And he started telling me, "Oh, Mr. Daugherty, you got to slow down.
Yeah.
You're getting too far ahead in the book." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Man, what the hell else am I supposed to
Right.
do? I'm paying you, X amount of dollars a month
Yeah.
to for my tuition, and there's no one coming in. Well, you got to bring your friends in." And I'm
Yeah.
like, my friends have
Right.
cool haircuts,
Yeah.
Like I was like, they don't want me who doesn't know what he's doing. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'll help you. But that concept was so foreign at the time.
Right.
Like, you're gonna help me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it was supposed to work.
Sure.
So
they wanted you to bring in your own customers to
yeah,
practice.
yeah, which is not necessarily how that can work that way.
Right.
It's cool to get to do that. But I told my dad, and he's like, "Look, let's stop that." Talk to my barber, who said at that time I knew he was going to be opening a college in several months.
Yeah.
And he said, "Just drop out, take your hours,
Mm-hmm.
have him get your hours so that you're accredited, and you get that, and you'll transfer them to my school,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get you going."
Yeah.
So fast forward a few months, his school starts, and man, day one, you got a clipper in your hand and you're cutting someone's hair. I mean, day one,
Right.
You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and you're cutting hair.
Yeah.
And that's how it went.
There we go.
And that's when the journey started. That would have been 2014, like
Mm-hmm.
fall of 2014 is probably when I started in real barber college.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. So then how did you end up kind of where you're at?
Okay. So I got through that, did like 1,500 haircuts in barber college, which if you talk to a lot of people who went to other schools, they didn't even get close to that.
Yeah.
Man. That school's busy, dude.
Right.
I ended up working. He was opening a shop in Mount Zion. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving to Champaign, but
Right.
this is a shoe-in.
Yeah.
I know all these people,
Right.
and it's literally the shop that he opens right across from that restaurant
Mm-hmm.
that we were in. So it's literally, in the same neighborhood I was
Yeah.
always in. So tons of familiar faces. Like, this
Yeah.
is perfect.
Sure.
I can scoot right in. I'd made some clients in barber college that were in that area, and I grew up there,
Right.
built-in clientele.
Yeah.
And I was right.
Mm-hmm.
So what that allowed me to do was, I knew you get out of barber college, you still don't know how to cut hair. Some do,
Mhm.
some think they do.
Yeah.
Others were like me and was like, I
Still
don't
pretty new
know
at it,
what
yeah.
the hell I'm doing.
Right.
I can still remember the first few days, like the boss would call and check in. I'd be like, "Dude, I think I figured out how to do a haircut finally."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I hope so. You're working in my shop. But I did that for like a couple years. And then I just got to a point where, and the plan was always get a shop going in Champaign so I
Mhm.
can wake up, roll out of bed and go to work,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where I'm going to live. So I might as well
Yeah.
get it started. And then I had a bum business deal with another guy. We didn't see eye to eye on things. And that was crushing because I had invested some money and never got it back or anything like that. But whatever,
Yeah.
things happen, water under the bridge at this point. But that just kind of fueled me even more. And that's kind of where Tilt comes into play
Mhm.
with New Life Tattoos. And
Mhm.
because he had previously talked to me about us teaming up the way that
Yeah.
we have. And
You've been getting tattooed by him then over here.
for 10
yeah.
years. Yeah. Since like
Yeah.
2010 or something.
Gotcha.
Throughout all like when I was still in the scumbag years, that's when all this started.
Uh,
It's slowed down now, but I'm still a scumbag. We started scouting buildings and we couldn't find anything. And then
Yeah.
finally he was tattooing the guy who's our landlord.
Mhm.
And he's like, "I think I have a building." And it's a building that Tilt did an art show in several years when I was in barber college.
mhm.
And I went to his art showing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "It'd be cool, man." Clark, he calls me Clark.
Yeah.
He's like, if you get this barber thing really going and you take it serious, he's like,
Yeah.
"What if we had like a place like this and like we double dutched and we
Yeah.
did like tattoos and barbering?"
Uh-huh.
And we're messed up on stuff.
Yeah.
We're at an art show and it's the end of the night.
Sure.
And it's all pats on
Yeah.
the back and, "Oh yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Pass me another beer."
Yeah. Sure.
And then I did that bum business deal and he was so mad at me. He was
Mhm.
like, "What, bro?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were supposed to
Exactly.
do this thing, dude."
Yeah.
Like, and I was like,
Yeah.
"I didn't realize you
Yeah.
meant
You were
it."
hammered.
I was
Yeah.
drunk. He was more of a mentor type,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I thought
Yeah.
Tilt was saying something nice, like "I'm proud of you" is kind of what he was
Yeah.
trying to tell me, like because
Right.
he's known me since I was a little scumbag,
Sure.
right? And then he's like, trying to say, "Oh, it's cool to see you growing up,"
Yeah.
but we really meant like, "Hey,
Right.
dude, what if
Yeah.
we do a thing together?
Yeah, he was
You
serious.
help me,
Right.
I help you."
Right.
And I was just wind in the ears, too stupid still to realize
Yeah.
he meant it. Thank God, I went to him and told him what had happened with this, other deal that felt like it just went really sour.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, I'm still here if you want to do it."
Yeah.
He's like, "And we're going to do it right. And I'm
Right.
going to show you that it doesn't have to be like that."
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, like I said, he was tattooing a guy that ends up as our landlord now.
Yeah.
He's like, "I think I got the perfect building." It turned out to be the building that was the art show
Yeah.
that he had. The exact building that gave us the idea is
Right.
the building we ended up getting.
Mhm.
Which
It's
is
so sweet,
again,
too.
those
Yeah.
crazy twists of fate that you realize like at one point was one thing now means something totally different to
Right.
you. Like, So that's kind of how that came to be. And so I saved my pennies at the job I had in Decatur. Tilt loaned me some money.
Yeah.
And I was working 20-hour days for a while there, going in at night, building stuff at the shop, painting.
Sure.
Doing all the, I'm not handy. I'm like anti-handy.
Yeah.
So anything that was like structurally difficult to build, they did. I'd show up and slap a coat of paint on it, sand something, put these frames together. That whole flash wall we have, like put these sleeves, put all this flash in these frames, and recruit all your cronies to do this dirty work, and then go get some pictures at Esquire. Many countless nights. For like 3 or 4 months, we delayed opening for like a month because it was so much work.
Yeah.
That was just an empty white room when we got it. And now it looks like it's been there for decades, but it's only been there like 4.5 years at this point. But it was a lot of work, and so a lot of there's friendships lost over it. There was blood, sweat, and tears, literally. I mean, it was brutal, but we got it done. And that was all because Tilt had this crazy vision and invited me, this little scumbag, to do this thing with him. So
it's so funny how I bet over like that period of time too, like he kind of watched you evolve as a dude into like, I think this guy may actually be like, he may actually make it as a barber. I'm sure that there was plenty of times you walked in where you have these plans and stuff, and he's like, okay, cool. What do you want? Whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, like as time goes on, you're like, I think this dude may be serious, and I could see myself having something with him.
I remember like when we were first doing it, Tilt's not a man of hair. He hasn't had it for quite a while.
Yeah, he doesn't have
so
much.
I don't think he knew quite what the flow of a barbershop could be. And I'm not sure if he knew. Let me rewind that. None of us knew how busy I was going to be.
Sure.
Especially as quick as it happened.
Yeah.
I think because there's some great shops in this town already. You got Hanson Company, Andy's have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty more to name. I don't need to list them all. Like
sure.
There's so many places before I opened, and even since, there's been so many great places to get a haircut. But I think what I did, like we put that at the right place, the right time, far enough from the other shops, but close enough to the other shops.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of an angle. We were doing this whole like turn of the century tattoo barbershop was a very common thing 100 years ago. You see it now in like hip cities and stuff, but like it's not a thing in a town this size, and it boomed. Yeah. And I think it was cool. I think a lot of people, myself included, were like, oh, I'm really doing this. Like it's working. There was days where I would show up 3 months in and be like, I don't have to worry about my next meal, or paying the rent or, making my parents or, my in-laws like proud or worried, like it's really working. So yeah, I guarantee it's cool. He'd have to tell you that, whether he's proud of me or not.
Yeah.
He knows how much I still have to grow.
Right.
But, because we know each other really well. We're already pretty good friends. And at this point, like Tilt's family, of course, I've known him for a decade and then we're right on top of each other. Our families know each other and all that stuff. So but yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. It's a cool spot, man. I love, again, Thanks. I'm a customer at all of, at both of your businesses on the regular. So that's awesome.
For sure.
I got a couple of questions for you that I think are interesting to people. So I want to know, this is more like inside baseball for barbers. What are some pet peeves? What are some things that people could do that, again, I know you're not calling anyone out here and you don't want to embarrass anyone.
I'm going to try not to.
What are some things that people could always do to please their barber or avoid that they may not even be, realizing? Like, I'm talking something as simple as like someone slouching or moving their head around or chewing
those are
gum
classics.
or any of those weird things.
All three of those are classics.
Okay,
and that third one, chewing gum, I think is a thing that eludes us because I think some people do that almost as like a fidget kind of cure for your fidgeting.
I've done it in the past just because I thought that I was being courteous, right? I'm like, this dude's going to be up in my face. I'm just trying to
absolutely. I was going to get there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know there's like a breath thing going on and everything. But like when you chew, muscles in the sides of your head pulsate.
Yeah.
So if you're getting some kind of skin fade or like I'm doing some detail work with a trimmer around like all your lines and stuff, you're not making my job any easier.
Yeah.
That one could take a back seat though, compared to, like you said, the posture is a big thing. For some reason, I don't know if it's like when you're at a barbershop, Austin, as a client, you're there to chill. Right. You're there to see the boys, get a haircut, have some laughs.
Yep.
Help out your community
for sure
and be on your way.
Yep.
I'm working.
Right. Right.
And so people come in and they're relaxed. They're ready to chill.
Exactly.
And I'm like, hey, dude.
Yeah. Pop it up.
10 and 2.
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
it's the equivalent of that. Like you want to be really straight, and you literally want someone to sit like a statue.
Yeah.
I mean, in an ideal world.
Right.
And when I tell you to tilt, you tilt. When I tell you to turn, whatever. Like, I know that's not reality, but it is a bit of a pet peeve. The bigger one is when I'm cutting certain techniques, man. If you move, that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Now we're changing the haircut. Right. You might not know that we did, but maybe during the course of a haircut, I've changed your haircut 3 times. Lengthwise or certain parameters of it.
Doing something different.
Because you're holding hair with a comb and you're going to cut it with your clipper. That hair's sticking through those teeth of the comb.
Yeah.
And then they turn towards it. The hair goes deeper.
Right.
Now we're shorter.
Yeah,
or they pull out and now I've wasted time.
Yeah.
And I've cut nothing.
Right.
So that's huge.
Sure.
My biggest pet peeves more have to do with courtesy. And it's not even about me and my day. Punctuality.
Yeah.
No call, no shows. That's so uncalled for to be late without letting me know. We almost all, if you don't have a cell phone at this point, at least some kind of like rented it for the week kind of thing, or you're near someone who has one. Almost everybody who can come and pay for a barbershop haircut probably has some form of a phone.
Sure.
Just call me, dude.
Right.
Dude, I'm going to be a few minutes late.
Yeah.
Because at that point, at least I know whether I can, it's guy X. I know I can get guy X in.
Yeah.
Even if he's 10 minutes late, I
Right.
can knock that haircut out.
Sure.
And get the next guy in. Sometimes it's like, oh man, your haircut's real tricky. I'm going to need all of that time. 5 minutes is our window.
Right.
We used to be a lot more lenient, but in the times that we're living in now, there's different regulations on us. They've been really strict. They've been really relaxed.
Yeah.
We've kind of adopted this like 5-minute policy.
Yeah.
If you're there 5 minutes and 30 seconds, man, it's too late.
Right.
And it's sometimes even to us, it's like, oh, this feels ridiculous because I probably could, but you have to stick to that policy, and we're going to. So anyone listening, like, it's not personal. It's literally so that the next guy or my lunch or my wife's time with me at the end of the day, they get that.
Right.
We get the things we need because we have lives, and those people that need their haircut, they have to get back to work or to their families or to the funeral, wedding, whatever it may be they need the haircut for. That's all that is. The punctuality is my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah. I also don't think people understand that, like, you specifically are booked out 2.5 weeks. So it's like, dude, I've got like, like people that are, I can't just kick everything down the road here, It's like,
it's not
booked.
When it's that packed that tight, it's a double-edged sword because it feels great to know that like people want you to do that.
Right.
But you're also committing. I mean, you can say 2 weeks out, but another way to look at it is like, say it's just a Saturday.
Yeah.
Try to book a Saturday with me right now.
Right.
My normal weeks, it's probably 2 to 2.5, sometimes 3 weeks out. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I know barbers that are way busier than that, even in this town. It's crazy. But my Saturdays, that's like fried gold.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you want a Saturday with me, it's probably December before you can get one.
Yeah.
Because that's that day that everybody wants. And I have the Saturday dudes.
Right.
It's first Saturday of the month, it's these guys. The second Saturday, it's these guys. The third, it's some of the guys from that first week and some different guys.
Yeah.
Fourth week, it's some of the guys from that second week. Because some guys are every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Some guys are crazy about their haircut.
Oh, yeah.
I got once a weekers. High and tight flat top guys. They want that done once a week. So that's tricky too. You, like you're saying, you can't. It's not easy to just go, hey, I know, I know you're busy, but if you have something to open up, man, if it opens up, it's because somebody did that other pet peeve and they call no showed on me. So I don't even have time to call you and let you in. So it's
I can't even squeeze
so
it in.
Another pet peeve is being too busy. Like that drives me nuts. That it's like, because sometimes Austin calls, right? And Austin's like, man, I know I don't want to be that guy, but if you happen to have anything.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I don't. And I'd love to see you and I'd love to cut your hair and laugh our asses off.
Sure.
But I can't.
Right.
And then what happens? Johnny come lately just no-shows me. And it could have been Austin's haircut.
Right. Yeah.
So you lost money.
Yeah.
You didn't get Austin in your chair.
Right.
That guy didn't get a haircut.
Yeah.
I mean, and how many times, what do we do baseball rules? 3 strikes and you're out?
Right.
I mean, why do we live a lot of our lives by baseball rules?
Sure, exactly.
Because some of our policies, like if it's your first time booking with us and you just don't show up and you don't call, you don't let us, you don't acknowledge that like there was a mishap or whatever, you're blocked.
Right.
Because that's the rapport we've built at that point.
Sure.
You could have shown up late. I said, like, no big deal, dude.
Yeah.
Like, things happen.
Right.
Thanks for even showing up.
Yeah.
Let's get this rescheduled. Let's make this work for you. Because they're picking me.
Right.
I want to try to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
But if you just don't show up and I don't hear from you, I'd have no reason to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And that's a pet peeve. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm a people pleaser. I want everyone to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
This job has taught me you can't do that.
Yeah.
You just can't make everyone happy.
Sure.
You'll do your damnedest, but you'll fall short.
Yeah.
Because other people will make you fall short.
Right.
Or you will.
Right.
One way or the other, it's going to happen. So you have to deep breaths. You
Okay.
know?
No,
for
that makes
sure.
sense.
But man, other than that, there's not a whole lot. You know, it's a cool job.
I got a would you rather with two scenarios that you as a barber have to choose from. Would you rather me, the customer, bring my 2-year-old son, Rocky, to your barbershop and ask for a bald fade with an angled hard part, or have me come into your shop, someone you don't know, remain completely silent for the duration of the cut, but also make unrelenting eye contact every time you're cutting my hair? I'm looking up, trying to make eye contact with you, and which I don't think would be weird, but you're in the back a lot. But I'm taking a 3.5-minute phone call in the middle of that cut. Baby, or weird dude who takes a phone call.
So you threw the curveball at the end there, bud.
Yeah, exactly. Because I figured that like silent guy that's weird, like I'm not seeing his
Right.
eyes very often,
So
but the haircut.
The amount that
with
I
the phone call.
despise cutting most children's hair.
It's gotta be hard. I've
It's-
seen my
it-
kids get their hair cut, and I'm like, this
it's a
poor
moving
person.
target, and I think the internet has given us unrealistic expectations of what you can give a child.
Yeah.
They don't know that child with that bald fade angled hard part,
Yeah.
and they probably added some other stuff that I don't even know the terminology for to it because I'm very limited in my skill set. They don't understand that kid was a perfect angel,
Yeah.
but most kids aren't,
Right.
and it's not no fault of their own. They're human, you know.
Yeah.
But I hate cutting children's hair. So, and my old job, the one that I worked at over in Mount Zion,
Yeah.
pardon me, it was like a family barbershop.
Yeah.
You know, Frank Sinatra playing.
Yeah.
We wore suits and ties.
Exactly.
It was all like mom and pop joint kind
Sure.
of thing. A little hokey, but people dig it,
Yeah.
or they don't. Whatever, it works. So I see why you would do it as a business model. But because of that, we did tons of children, tons, dude. Dad and the boys, dad and the boys, dad and the boys, mom and the boys.
Yeah.
But mom's just gonna watch and helicopter.
Right.
You know, like. When I started my shop, I was like, "We're in a tattoo shop. Your kids don't need to be in here."
Sure.
Now,
Exactly.
you get some cool parents that their kids are cool. They can do
Yeah.
that. And I have very limited. I'm not taking any new children right
Yeah.
now. I've had people as recent as Saturday ask me if I brought my 3-year-old in. You know, he's got crazy long hair, and I love this. He's been coming to me for years now. And I
Yeah.
cut his other boy, and I've probably been cutting his hair since he was 4.
Yeah.
But since then,
Yeah.
we've enacted a stricter policy with children because it is in our environment.
Yeah.
We got a loud HVAC system in there, okay?
Right.
Can't avoid that.
Yeah.
We got loud music playing. It's usually like metal or hip hop.
Yeah.
We got tattoo machines going. We got people in pain downstairs getting
Yeah.
tattooed, all right?
Yeah.
We got blow dryers going, clippers. Already the noise and scary stuff for a little kid at a barbershop's already in there. Plus visual stimulation.
Yeah.
Or oral, is that the word? I got to be careful with
Sure.
that. Oral stimulation, auditory. All that's going on.
Right.
And you got a kid sitting in there trying to get a haircut and he
Yeah.
wants that one. So I really don't want to do that one. However, I do always make jokes with people about the weird eye contact.
Yeah.
And the phone call thing, depending on who you are and how short it is, I can excuse it.
Yeah.
Workers got to work.
What's the time limit on an emergency? Again, obviously, you should not be taking a phone call during the haircut.
Yeah, I don't want you having a conversation.
Yeah.
But
3.5
the
minutes.
wife calls and she doesn't normally call.
Yeah.
Answer that phone call.
It's
the
3
boss calls.
Mhm.
You make that call, but chances are
Yeah.
you probably don't need to take
right,
it.
yeah.
I've had people though be as bold as to sit down in the chair and they're holding their laptop.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, I have a Zoom meeting or a Skype that I need to do. And is that okay?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm at
please
work.
don't. Yeah.
They were like, because I'm technically at work right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not technically at work. I'm literally
Yeah.
at work.
Mhm.
So like, I'm in that scenario.
Mhm.
We're not opening up the policy. I'll take the child.
Oh, nice. See,
take the child.
I wondered if the phone call was going to be
That
the
kid
deal
doesn't
breaker
know
where
any
you're like,
better.
dude, yeah, exactly.
And the parents will after I jack up that bald fade and hard part. No one said I had to do it well.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
Yeah.
Again, I knew that was going to be a tricky one here.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple of other things here that I wanted to hit you with because I know we've been going for a little while. So if there's one thing I know that you and I agree on, like 100%, It's that like late 90s, early 2000s, new metal was the single greatest moment in the history of music. With that, we've always
It's up there.
agreed on. One thing that came and went with new metal music was the individual nicknames for band members. For some reason, you had new metal bands that just had they just had weird nicknames. You think of like Korn was, Monkey, Head, Fieldy. Twiggy Ramirez from Marilyn Manson. There's a guy named Fuzz from the band Disturbed.
Rob Zombie.
Exactly.
Right.
You had weird
and his
names.
brother Spider.
Exactly. Totally. 100%.
The list goes on.
100%. Yeah. So I need you to help me pick out my new metal insurance guy nickname. And again, no one ever really knows like where these names came from. It's just sometimes it's related, sometimes it's not. I need you to help me pick them out. I got 3 options here for you.
Okay.
So first one, simple. Quote with a K.
Quote with a K.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The K's nice.
One syllable.
You should turn that E backwards.
See, and again, that's a good tip. But quote, just KWOTE.
And then they'll wonder if it's a 3 or not, and you can make something mysterious about that.
I like
Something
where your head's
to do with
at.
your childhood, probably. It's new metal after all. A lot of trauma. Involved.
Exactly. You never know. Again, it's insurance related, but I think that
but it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be.
And that's
right.
I think that's what you have with this one too. Also insurance related, liability. Okay. You see here?
That's got you're definitely rapping.
Yeah.
That's not just you're not just grunting and scatting.
No,
you're
exactly.
definitely rapping.
This is a 5-syllable. This is a 5-syllable one here, but you've got some different stuff. The word lie, the word bill is in here.
Yeah.
There's 3 different words in here.
You get very political with your songs in a Rage Against the Machine way, which
Exactly.
fits in with the rapping.
Exactly.
That one's good.
So again, you've got it's a little bit different. It's longer, but I think that it has like a little more nuance to it. There's some different stuff you could do. And then this one, and again, because they don't always have to make sense, you could just be cheese.
It could be.
And it doesn't, again, that's the thing about the new metal.
Which comes
so
from
much
goats.
of it, yes, so much of the new metal doesn't make sense. And if you're doing kind of a new metal insurance nickname, maybe that fits. Again, now if you're choosing it for me, who I'm going to be, my new metal insurance nickname, what's it going to be?
Man, I think it's hands down liability. It's ridiculous. Yeah, dude. There's a lot going on with it.
Dude, I'm so glad you said this was my favorite one. I'm so glad that you chose it.
It's so stupid.
The people know liability is my new insurance new metal nickname. It's stupid.
That's stupid. I'm not doing it.
Stupid bit.
I'm not doing it.
Stupid bit. All right, listen, I had another one for you here. It's going to take too long. I'm going to bring you in again so we can run through it. But I do have one more question. No, dude, I loved it. This has been great. I do have a question for you, though, that I want every one of my customers to answer, and that's what advice would you give your 16-year-old self? And based on kind of the conversation that we had at the beginning of this, you were in a unique situation at the age of 16.
Yeah.
What advice?
I still could have used some advice, though, for sure. That I could give myself.
Sure. Looking back now, what advice would you give your 16-year-old self in that moment as you're kind of going through that whole world change?
That was a super hard time in my life, 16, like I described earlier. Mm-hmm. And what I would tell myself, and I tell other people this all the time, I've had a lot of people I know become barbers since I have. There's been a huge boom in it. So like just within I was just talking about this today with a friend, about 7 of my friends or at least acquaintances have become or are becoming barbers at this point. I always tell people, do the hard thing. And at that point, I would said, keep doing this. Keep doing this hard thing.
Yeah.
This hard path you're on. This is age-old stuff, right? It's almost a cliche, but like the reward's at the end of the hard road. Mm-hmm. It's not at the end of that easy, comfortable path.
Yeah.
Like, building that shop was really hard. Mm-hmm. Going to barber college was really hard. All of it. Do the hard thing. Mm-hmm. Take the hard path. Don't take the easy out. Yeah. Like I promise you will be happier and you will get the things that you want quicker with the hard path. Mm-hmm. And I totally would have told him I live by that. Yeah. And I take my own advice sometimes when I see myself kind of chickening out. And I'm like, dude, that ain't it.
Right.
You tell other people, take the hard path. Choose the hard thing. There's normally more than one option, Sure. Lie down and let daddy hold your hand and do that. Or spread them wings, baby.
Right.
Do the thing. So I would tell you, take the hard path.
Yeah. I love it. I think so much that there's a phrase that I've heard before that's called "embrace the suck," and it's just if it sucks,
they say that in the military a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Just lean into.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, lean into that thing that's terrible. Mm-hmm. It's like working out or anything, right? It feels awful when you're sitting there doing a bunch of goblet squats for 20 minutes, right? But at the end of it,
Yeah.
Oh, that feels pretty damn good.
Right, exactly. I'm glad I did it.
I feel so accomplished. Even if there was failures in there and you kind of had to stop, like you feel great when it's done.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I always say that. Like, and I don't always take that advice, but I try to.
Right.
So yeah, that's it.
I love it. Nice. Well, listen, we got to get you out of here. I appreciate you doing this real quick.
Thanks for listening to me.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Plug, promote all your stuff so people know where to find you, know where to find the shop.
Yeah, man, you can follow us at Midwest Barber Co. or at Midwest Barber Co. on Instagram. Check out our Facebook. It's Midwest Barber Co. CO. That's it. We don't really have much else. I don't have anything else going on. So.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, listen, people, go check out the shop. Go ahead, make an appointment. Don't you dare no call, no show. Again, we've established that. We're not doing any of that around here. But no, seriously, guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 10. I've been super excited to get these out to you guys. So, again, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing with the people that you know, and we'll see you guys next time.